in Northwest Arkansas.
And candidates made the most of the final few hours before caucus tonight in Iowa. Look at where the GOP race stands as the nation's first primary contest begins.
Covering news where you live. This is 5 News at 5.
And thanks for joining us on our streaming platform 5+. I'm Darren Bobb.
And I'm Alexandra Burnley. 5 News reporter Rachel Williams is live off of I-49 in Springdale right now to show us what it looks like out there. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Alexandra. Hey, Darren. Even though the snow is still falling, the roads are still covered in parts of Washington and Benton County. But driving along I-49 right now, there are 3 lanes open, but there are still a few patchy spots. RDOT crews have been working nonstop to clear the roads. Crews have made interstate their priority before totally clearing secondary roads. So far in our area, they have not been any major wrecks, but Dave Parker with RDOT says that's not the case in other parts of the state along Interstate 40.
We had tractor trailer jackknife. It's backed up both sides of the westbound, and then on the eastbound they're down to 1 lane, and I think it's a combination of people just going slow, which is great, but also people looking over at the accident. So in that area it's around mile marker 239, Forest City, Arkansas, it's pretty bad. Visibility's not great along Interstate 40.
In Washington County right now, they have 90 employees working around the clock all the way until tomorrow. But for now, I'm live in Springdale covering news where you live. Rachel Williams, 5 News.
Thanks, Rachel. Let's go ahead and check in with meteorologist Stephen Elmore with the Drive 5 update. Stephen, where are you now and how is it out there?
Alexander, we've been driving in and around Fort Smith over the past hour or so. Side streets are really bad right now. There's even a few of these side streets within those neighborhoods that are completely closed off because of how steep the hills are. Still lots of snowpack on the side streets, but we're about to turn left on here to Rogers Avenue, and you can see these highly traveled areas pretty good right now. At least 1 lane open right now on some of these mainly driven roads. Once you get on the interstate, not too bad as well. Now we're on Rogers Avenue. Again, you see I got a clear lane right now. It's once you turn into those neighborhoods that the snowpack's still pretty good out there, and when it gets to the overnight hours and it starts to freeze, it's hard to get off, especially when those crews try to work its way in there. It's hard to get those side streets clear as possible, so at least until we get above freezing, right now still those side streets are the worst areas.
All right, Stephen, thanks. Looks like things are getting just ever so slightly better with the sunshine that we had today, but still.
I think he's spot on. The hills and rural spots, or not even necessarily rural, but maybe less traveled roads, you get deep into a subdivision or neighborhood. For example, we were in the Storm Jeep earlier today, sliding downhill at 5 a.m. in the morning close to the University of Arkansas, just because there's not much traction there. You know, then we would flip it into 4-wheel drive, but we were just trying to see what it would be like if you were in your car with only 2-wheel drive, just to kind of get that feel. Those roads are still kind of slick, but many of the big roads are totally fine. You can head out there and not have to worry too much, but watch out for a stray slick spot because this could be the coldest night in 3 years.
We just need some sunshine.
Oh, we just need more sun. We got a little bit today. Hopefully get some tomorrow as well. Let's show you some weather maps this evening. First off, let's get to how much snowfall has even hit us here across 5 country. It's a pretty good round for us. I'd say generally between 2 to 4 inches for most of us, but you can see a lot of 5s on the map. We had a lot of 5s, especially in the mountains. And Ozark, too, big cutoff right there at the river, about 3-4 inches. And then you just had 2 or 3 miles. We're over 5 inches in spots there in northern Franklin County. We had a 5.4 just north of the Bobby Hopper Tunnel. 4 inches on the southeast side of Fort Smith, and then 4 inches near Greenwood. Poto, 2.5. Not bad. Bentonville, Bella Vista, near the 3.5 inch mark. So this was pretty good for us. It was a very dry, powdery snow. If it hasn't refrozen, it was kind of snow that you could take your broom and just sweep it away because it's not very heavy. This isn't the shoveling snow where it kind of hurts your back. It's super fluffy, but still, with temperatures this cold, if anything kind of melted on the top, that part could refreeze overnight tonight as we have some very cold air on the way. North winds right now anywhere between 5 to 15 miles per hour. Temperatures from the teens to some single digits. Of course, it feels like it's well below 0 for all of northwest Arkansas. In the River Valley, it feels like we're in the single digits right now as well. We have a wind chill advisory out across all of 5 country because the wind chills tonight could drop to -15 and to -30 to the north. But here's the thing. We're going to look at upcoming temperatures throughout the night. And if we can get to about -4 in northwest Arkansas, and then about even a 3 in Fort Smith. It'll be the coldest night that we've had in 3 years. We'll talk about how cold it's going to get here in just a moment.
All right, Matt, thanks. Remember to find a full list of places to keep warm in our area. Text the word warm to the number on your screen there, 785-5000. We will text you right back with a list of warming centers where you live so you can get out of the cold.
Many schools already calling for a snow day tomorrow. Here's a live look at our website, 5newsonline.com, where we're tracking the latest closures and delays. Some major ones to mention: Fort Smith, Fayetteville, Springdale, Bentonville, and Rogers school districts. They are all out tomorrow.
If you'd like to see a complete list of these closures, grab your phone. Again, text the word closures, 785-5000. We'll send you a link to the story with all the area closings.
Let's stop talking about snow for a second. Switching gears, the first contest in the 2024 presidential election gets underway in just a couple of hours. Iowa Republicans are also dealing with Old Man Winter as they head out this evening to support their candidates at tonight's caucuses. Natalie Brand is in Iowa with more.
From local diners to town halls, GOP presidential hopefuls are trying to make the most of these final hours before caucus night. For Iowans, it's a mix of intrigue.
I'm very curious to see how this will turn out.
Anxiety.
I don't think she's going to do well.
And even indecision.
I think my final decision will come on caucus night.
Dylan Engelbrecht chairs Drake University's College Republicans.
What is your sense of who the young Republicans like this year?
I think it's a pretty mixed bag like we see in the polls. I think you definitely have that committed group that is still for President Trump all the way. But I think there's definitely interest in other candidates like Governor DeSantis and Ambassador Haley.
Polling reflects that. The latest Des Moines Register poll shows former President Donald Trump with a nearly 30-point lead, and Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis fighting for second place.
The key to winning in Iowa is you need to finish in the top 3.
Volunteers are still working today to help their candidates cross the finish line.
We know, looking at polls, that people are concerned about the weather.
Given the severe weather, the outcome is riding on who shows up and which candidate has the most loyal supporters on what could be the coldest caucus night in history. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Des Moines, Iowa.
The snow is everywhere. Well, there are more than 1,600 individual caucuses held statewide in Iowa tonight, restricted to registered Republicans only. Newcomers are welcome, but must register with the GOP on site. Well, after tonight, New Hampshire's primary will be up next, set for next Tuesday.
After tonight's Iowa caucus, all eyes will turn to New Hampshire. The Granite State will be the next to cast votes in the first primaries of the election season on January 23rd, followed by South Carolina Democrats on February 3rd, then Nevada on February 6th and 8th, and then back to the Palmetto State on the 24th as the Republicans cast their votes. Michigan will head to primaries February 27th. Idaho and Missouri Republicans caucus March 2nd, followed by North Dakota on March 4th, and then a day later, the biggie. 14 states, including Texas, voting on Super Tuesday. That's also the date we'll hear the results of the Iowa Democratic Caucus.
100 days have passed since Hamas attacked Israel, triggering the ongoing war. It is the deadliest and most destructive conflict between Israelis and Palestinians in history. Desperate and hungry Palestinians swarm aid trucks in Gaza City today. UN says many of the territory's 2 million residents risk starvation. Israelis with loved ones still held hostage, demanding their release.
It's 100 days of absolute torture and torment for the families who are waiting.
Pressure is building on Israel to wrap up the war with vows to continue the fight until Hamas is destroyed and the hostages return home. A man in Fayetteville has died after a suspect tried to flee from police, crashed into his car. State police tell us 20-year-old Noah Cargill was running from a trooper who was trying to conduct a traffic stop on Saturday. Police tried to pull over Cargill after witnessing him driving recklessly on Weddington. Cargill swerved around cars on Rupel Road, then lost control of his car and crashed into an oncoming vehicle. 56-year-old David Michael Pemberton of California was pronounced dead at the scene. Cargill is charged with negligent homicide and multiple traffic violations. He was taken to Washington Regional Medical Center with non-life-threatening injuries.
A child was killed in a crash over the weekend in Fayetteville. According to a report from the Arkansas Department of Public Safety, that accident happened around 4:30 on Sunday morning. The child was riding in a car with the driver going east in the westbound lane on Fulbright Expressway. Another car was traveling west in the same lane and they collided head-on. Both drivers and 3 other passengers were injured and taken to local medical centers.
All right, time right now, 10 minutes after 5. No crashes or accidents to report right now. Of course, we've had a lot of crashes just throughout the day and the past couple of days. And sometimes as you're cruising down the interstate, you could see a vehicle there on the side that the police have checked to make sure no one's still in there. But this is live look outside in Fayetteville, or as you're headed towards Fayetteville on I-49 in the northbound lanes. There are a little bit of icy patches here and there, but most of the road is now clear. A couple slick spots are possible anywhere it's damp there in Bentonville, because temperatures, I mean, we're in single digits now, but we'll be falling below 0 here very shortly. In Fort Smith, we could have our coldest night in 3 years. We're going to be talking about that temperature drop and what we're expecting and how much longer this cold air is going to last coming up.
The most popular whiskeys come from places like, Tennessee or Kentucky, and overseas from Ireland and Scotland.
But now a growing number of whiskeys are actually being made in a country that may surprise you. Jared Hill has the story.
The spirit company Pernod Ricard is behind famous whiskey brands from Scotland like Chivas Regal and the Glenlivet, and Jameson, which is distilled in Ireland. But the group's latest whiskey is being created in China.
We see huge potential for whiskey here in China.
Chairman and CEO Alex Ricard says his company is investing up to $150 million in creating a brand specific for the Chinese people.
We do believe that Chinese have developed a real taste, particularly for malt whiskey.
That taste is developed in the Sichuan province using water from a nearby mountain spring and local ingredients. We've chosen a high-quality, domestically grown barley for our pure malt whiskey, Master Distiller Yang Tao says. Whiskey consumption in China has grown 10% since 2017, according to the analysis firm IWSR. That's attracting an increasing number of spirit companies. There are now more than 30 whiskey distilleries in mainland China. You can also find self-proclaimed aficionados like Raymond Lee, who started the single malt club. Many people are pursuing individuality, he says, and whiskey caters to the consumption mindset of these people. The thirst for whiskey in China is only expected to increase. Analysts project double-digit sales growth over the next 4 years. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
Meanwhile, a new report from the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy shows that Arkansas is the 9th most regressive state when it comes to state and local tax systems. This means Arkansas is considered to have an upside-down tax system because it asks the most from those with the least. These states tax their poorest residents, those in the bottom 20% of the income scale, at rates averaging 3 times higher than those charged to the wealthy. For Arkansans, that's just over 13%. Middle-income families in these states pay an average rate of more than twice as high a share of their income than the wealthiest families. In Arkansas, middle-income families pay almost 11%. Let's go ahead and take you back outside. Let's bundle up. Here's a video taken earlier out over Beaver Lake. Chief Meteorologist Matt Standard shot this with our Sky 5 drone, and he was explaining earlier, Matt, you had to stay above the steam rising off Beaver Lake because, of course, steam is water. It's going to freeze again, and get on that drone. It could have plopped that drone right into the water.
Easily, and then there's no getting that drone. I'm not diving in to go get it because temperatures are too cold, both in the water and above the water. But to get that steam fog, you need about a difference of 20 degrees. It doesn't matter where you start as long as it's about a 20 degrees difference from the water, and then 20 degrees then colder above it with that air. Same theory applies to your hot tub. Same thing, maybe you're on vacation in Florida and there's a pond you're walking by and you see some of that steam on a little bit of a cooler morning. Same exact thing. But we saw a lot of that steam fog across Beaver Lake, but that was Highway 12. You head towards the Highway 412, a little bit farther south there, closer to Sonora. That part's frozen over right now, at least the very thin sheet there on the top. We've been getting some photos about that. So a lot of some rivers are a little bit frozen depending on how quickly they can flow. A lot of ponds are frozen, but the big lakes are not frozen. So Lake Fort Smith, we're still good. Beaver Lake, we're still good. But you're still going to see some of that steam fog, probably at least for 24 more hours, because tonight we get even colder possibly than it was last night. Right now we're in the single digits and we've got some teens and some north winds. North winds tonight and mostly clear skies should really combine to drop temperatures like a rock. Let's put a couple things in perspective. Last night we hit -3. That technically was the coldest night that we've had in 3 years, but I think we're going to beat that because we're aiming towards about -4, -5 in northwest Arkansas. If we do that, not only will it be the coldest night in 3 years, but we could break a record. The record for tonight and tomorrow morning is 0. So we're thinking about probably smashing that record. In Fort Smith, the record's 6. We may also smash it as well. That's where the official records are kept. Northwest Arkansas is in Fayetteville, and the River Valley is in Fort Smith. No matter where you break a record or not, it's going to be downright cold. And then look at some of these wind chills tomorrow morning. This is why we have a wind chill advisory. We're talking about it feeling like it's down to -3 all the way down to -14. Very cold tomorrow morning. Now, by lunchtime, the wind chill advisory does go away, and the wind should start to calm down. Boy, even without the wind, it's cold. We'll be in the teens tomorrow in northwest Arkansas after starting for several hours below 0. In the River Valley, we're flirting with 0. Some of us in the River Valley will be below 0. Some of us were today, like Mulberry. We'll head towards the 20s tomorrow afternoon. Decent amount of sunshine, I think, expected. We need the sun. The sun felt great today. Not that you were out there really feeling it, but it just looked pretty outside. Let the snow glisten out there. We haven't really melted the snow. It's sticking around. It's going to stick around all night tonight and stick around tomorrow, too. Nothing really to melt it other than the road and treatment crews putting stuff on the roads to try to melt it in our tire tracks. But otherwise, if cars just park there in the driveway, you're going to see big icicles on it and the snow sticking to it. Nothing's going to change until about Wednesday. Wednesday, we finally get a little bit of a break. We should bump up above freezing. Got some 40s in the forecast. But another cold front's on the way for Thursday. A brief wintry mix could be possible here in western Arkansas. I want to show you what we're talking about. This would be very quick. It's not nearly as strong of a cold front. And the upper levels are not really situated to hit us very hard. In fact, everything kind of loops around higher up in the atmosphere to allow more rising motion in eastern Arkansas. So they could see a sleety mix to snow farther to the north where we just kind of get skimmed. So to put it in perspective, I got this map for us. Generally a low chance to get some sort of snow shower or some sleet there in eastern Oklahoma and extreme western Arkansas, medium chance once you get to Paris and Clarksville, but better chances to see any kind of wintry weather will be far to our east. So when you're looking at this forecast, we still get the cold front, but we may not get a lot of precipitation. That would be Thursday morning. Quick, brief wintry mix possible, and then we drop again below freezing again. Friday, there could be a little bit of refreezing Friday if you do get a little rain or a couple snowflakes or pellets there flying. We do warm up into the weekend gradually. We finally break back above freezing again, and we hit the 40s by next week. Another system comes in. That one should just be rain. Wonder what that's like. We haven't had that in a while.
I would love the rain right now.
Yeah, rain would be great.
I just love the 40s.
Yes,
right
40s
now.
are great too.
Yes, 40s are great.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
No problem.
Well, today marks the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. MLK III laid a wreath at his father's memorial today.
His birthday is a federal holiday designated as a National Day of Service. Everyone is encouraged to give back and volunteer. President Joe Biden visited Philadelphia, where he showed support for organizations helping those who are food insecure. Service events have been taking place across the country.
The legacy of Dr. King really was rooted in the meaning of service behind it.
At the University of South Carolina, more than 160 students volunteered for service activities.
Vice President Kamala Harris also in Columbia, South Carolina today for a keynote address at an NAACP event.
Bad weather in many parts of the country forced some MLK events to be canceled. That's the case here at home as well.
Yeah, in Fort Smith, the city is pushing back the parade honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Instead of it being scheduled this morning, it will now happen on February 10th. That's a Saturday. Planners said if they had to postpone it, they wanted to keep it during Black History Month.
You can find a list of other MLK Day events in our area. Just go to our website, 5newsonline.com.
Quick thank you to all of those who have been watching us on 5+. And if this is your first time joining us on our streaming platform, man, where have you been?
Where have you been?
Welcome. You can always you can keep track with our stories as well as other ever-changing weather on our 5+ Smart TV app, which is streaming 5 News content 24/7.
Oh yeah, just search KFSM or 5 News on your Roku, Apple, Amazon Smart TV, or just your TV if it's smart enough, and you'll have access to our 24/7 stream, including our newscasts like this one and other amazing local original content that we made. Matt, take it away.
Some folks binge on Netflix. We binge on Channel 5.
Right.
That's what we like to do.
We've got the best content.
We've got a lot of content on there, so enjoy that. Hey, there's tonight and tomorrow night, the last 2 nights that you really have to watch out for bursting pipes. We've had pipes burst across 5 country. Still possible tomorrow. We don't even break above 20 until Wednesday in northwest Arkansas. In the River Valley, we should briefly get above 20 tomorrow afternoon. Mostly sunny skies. More sunshine Wednesday, 40s. I think Wednesday's probably our nicest day of the week. Enjoy the 40s, enjoy the sun, because another quick front hits us for Thursday, and then we crash back down for a couple days, but not nearly as cold as this past cold front.
Yeah, a lot of those streets are going to melt by Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah.
The back streets, the back roads will all be gone,
Yeah,
hopefully.
thank
So
goodness.
The snow is so beautiful and white
It's
right
pretty.
now, but
Yeah.
of course, as everyone gets back out on the road, it's going to start looking dirty.
It will be.
So let's just wash it away.
Yep.
All right, folks, thanks for joining us. We're back on 5+ in about 40 minutes for your 5 News at 6.
We'll see you then.